Hello, and welcome to another episode of our StaTech Industry Modpack playthrough. Hope today's going swell and well for you so far. As for me, well, there's been quite a bit of progress here. So, without further ado, let's dive into another episode. So yes, today's episode will be a bit different because we've made such monumental progress in between episodes. It's going to be a little hard to be like, I did this, and I did this, and I did that, because I did a lot. So instead, we're just going to kind of highlight it, go through the quest book a little bit, and just talk about the general flow of the mod pack, how much I'm enjoying it, and where we're going to be going in the future, not only with this mod pack, but with future videos as well. So, first things first, we did get the fancy electric quarry up, and this really boosted us as far as being able to progress forward with machines, to progress forward with, hold on, let me throw my running shoes back on. Progress forward with machines, progress forward with our automation, and to get a lot more things up and going. So clearly we have more resources in here now. We have the stuff for the copper drill, we have the stuff for the gold drill, we have the stuff for the steel drill. And of course all of this gets processed down into different things. For example, lapis lazuli can be processed down into, if I find it somewhere, over the rainbow, electrolyzer. It can be processed down into aluminum dust, sodium, silicone, and of course all of this stuff you need for various crafting recipes. Obviously the aluminum you're going to need in large quantities, especially whenever it comes to the vacuum freezer. Sodium you'll need for higher tier batteries in the future, and of course silicone you can use to make the silicone dust and the silicone plates, which you need for the transistors. Now, it's getting a little bit dark. Let's go ahead and take a snooze. Now, again, I'm not going to go through everything that we've done, but we will go through the quest book real quick just so you can see kind of what we've ticked off. So here, back in the Steam Age, we haven't done all too much more. If there's anything, we just kind of went through and filled up some of the miscellaneous side stuff. So like getting the battery box, which I'll show you where we have that at here in a minute. But other than that, I think most of this chapter was already done as much as what it is done. Moving on to the electrical age, this is where we really made some solid progress because I believe we had just gotten into the aluminum and we had just gotten our electric blast furnace set up in the last video. Maybe we didn't even have any aluminum last video, but since then I've not only processed aluminum, we've come down, made the advanced machine hull, the electric quarry. We went over because really I was trying to get into AE2 as soon as possible. I didn't really want to keep doing automation and logistics using Tom's simple storage mod because my base is getting a bit big and a bit spread out. So this is kind of the main factory, and we have a larger, basically just a processing factory set up over here, which is still fairly empty, but that's good because it gives us a lot of room to add more machines. But yeah, this is where we're kind of setting things to passive or setting things to automatic processing. So for example, soldering alloy is constantly being made. We have a constant influx of tin and lead being mixed in a mixer, put into a item input hatch here for the electric blast furnace, and then being shot out into an entangled tank. Entangled tanks, for all intents and purposes, are like ender tanks. They allow you to transport, or really teleport, I guess is a better word for it, fluids wirelessly, cross distance, whatever you want to call it. So they work very similar to ender tanks in the fact that they have a little color coding on top, and if you search for @Kibe, Kibe, you'll see these little runes, which are pretty cheap to craft. They're just stone buttons and then a the appropriate die. But this is how you change the color configuration on the tank. I'm not going to do it because obviously that's set up on that color for a reason. This second one primarily processes steel for us. So the new recipe I use for steel is carbon dust and iron dust. 1, 2, 3, 4. So carbon dust and iron dust you can put together in an EPF to get 5 steel ingots, and this only takes 20 seconds, which is pretty short relative to making the uncooked steel and then, you know, going and cooking it. So the way that you can get carbon, or the way that I've been getting carbon pretty easily, is by using ashes. You can use coal dust as well, but it's a 1-to-1 ratio, takes a little bit more energy, takes a little bit more time, and ashes are actually really, really easy to get because you just take tuff, which are generated from your copper drill, and yeah, bada bing, bada boom. It gives you ashes and dark ashes can be reprocessed in the centrifuge to give you ashes. So basically I just throw a whole lot of tuff into a centrifuge and we get ashes, and then I come over here and we throw one in there, and the rest of the iron in there. And yeah, just processes through. Every time it runs all the way through the recipe, it's going to give us 5 steel ingots, and that is why we now have 1,400. Furthermore, I'm able to access my storage, if you haven't noticed, from wirelessly or without looking at a terminal, however you want to describe it. This is because we have crafted ourselves, if I can find it somewhere. Here it is in the leg slot, the advanced wireless terminal. Now, we had already made the wireless terminal previously. It's not that difficult or complex. All you got to do is take a netherite ingot, add it on, and you get the advanced wireless terminal. If you hold shift, it'll tell you exactly what this little handy tool does. So it allows you to use or access a certain terminal that you shift right click on within a range of 64 blocks. If you build a level 1 beacon in an 8 block radius of the terminal, then you can access it anywhere within the same dimension. Now, obviously, creating a beacon requires us to slay a wither, which we're just not really ready for yet. We haven't even dove that far into the nether. So, with all that being said, we do have access in an AE2-like system, pretty much wirelessly, but I don't want to continue to push this system because when we get AE2 up, we're basically going to have to go through, gut the entire Tom Simple storage setup, and replace everything with applied energistics. On that note, we have over here our AE2 system, which is very rudimentary, doesn't have any disk drives, and I'll get into exactly why that is here in a minute. But if I right click, you can see it is an AE2 system, and this is AE2, you can be sure because you're searching and it's auto searching and yada yada yada. So basically this is the very, very rudimentary basics of what you need to get an AE2 system working. At least a singular Fluix glass cable, storage bus to access some form of storage container, right? In this case, we're accessing an inventory connector from Tom Simple Storage, which allows us to access everything within that inventory. So we actually have access to everything in the chest and everything around just by having the storage bus connected to that one block. So pretty nifty. The energy acceptor you will need in order to power all this kind of stuff here, unless you go for the controller and that whole route. And then basically we're just providing it with the little simple basic solar panel here, which I'm pretty sure we got from one of the quest rewards. It's going into a battery box, and then the battery box is going into the energy acceptor. Since this is a solar panel, come nighttime, it won't produce any energy at all, but during the day it's producing 3E per tick, which is not a whole lot, but enough to power the system, and that's all we really need. So yeah, we've dove into AE2 a little bit, but we've not gotten the disk drive, and this part kind of confused me for a bit, but I think I get more of why it is the way it is now. So yeah, as I was saying, I do understand why they've decided to gate AE2 as they have, and we'll kind of go through what all you are able to do with it and what you might want to wait to do with it. So if you take a look at the quest book here, it takes you down into the laser engraver, which gets you to the fluix crystals and the processors. So it brings you to all the tangential stuff for AE2 without giving you the drive and the, you know, the cells or the disk, whatever the hell they're called in this. So without giving you any of the actual storage stuff. However, you can actually still automate with this system, the little tiny one that I have over here, because we can take a cable from here, run it out, and throw on an export bus or whatever else, you know, we want to do, a stocking kind of upgrade, that kind of stuff. We're able to do that now, so we can actually start using AE2 to automate if we wanted to, but it's, you know, going to require a bit of gutting the system and redoing it, so I just haven't bothered, especially since we don't have the disk drives yet to fully dive in. So technically you can do it. You can use all the stuff that's here, and it's able to be crafted within this sort of realm, right, within the same quest page, which does give you access to the crafting terminal, to the interface, the storage bus, export bus, all this kind of stuff, even to the P2P tunnel, which can allow you to transfer additional channels, energy, all kinds of stuff. So it does open up a lot of stuff here. And I've gone back and forth as to whether or not I'm about to gut my entire system and replace it with AE2, given you have to start worrying about channels and all that kind of stuff. But you do get access to things like the annihilation and formation planes, which are really, really good for automation, as well as all the other stuff, such as being able to actually hard limit with numbers what goes into a system, because as you know right now, that's kind of been a big drawback for us. We can use the create smart chute in order to drop off a certain select amount of items, but it doesn't work too well when it comes to automation, so this is what we currently have set up. And I'll go through all of this once we show you exactly what this does. But just keep this in mind that is a relatively large setup. Not huge, obviously, but it's certainly not just 1, 2, 3 block kind of setup, which is generally what you see whenever you get to this level of automation, but we got to get a little bit further in order to make things a bit more compact. So over here we have this barrel, and I think the idealism for this and the functionality, excuse me, is kind of what the whole base, the whole automation idea for this mod pack should sorta be about, in my opinion. So what this barrel does is it takes in our various ingots. We're going to use copper in this example, and then it transports them a freaking crap ton distance away. I was going to cuss there, but decided, you know what, let's just curve the need there, or the want, really, not the need. It's basically going to transport things all the way over to our new factory over here, and it's going to deposit them into this barrel. We're going to want to take my magnet off, because otherwise it's going to mess with this. It's going to deposit into this barrel, which is going to drop things through the chute, which it probably is already done doing. So that was a little anticlimactic. I wanted you to actually see the process. I guess I can take another 64 and 8, not 9, 8, and drop it in here. So essentially what's happening is the smart chute is dropping out 9 items at a time. Why 9? Well, I'm glad you asked. The andesite tunnel is going to split exactly 1 copper off from that 9. And that 1 is going to go into this bottom barrel. The other 8 are going to go into the top. Now, the reason for this is this whole setup, maybe you saw it there, is used to make gears. So as we get another one, comes through, and boom, we get a copper gear. A couple of reasons for this. Gears actually get ridiculously cheaper, as well as a couple of other crafts that we'll be going over today, when you put them through an assembler. So if you take a look here, gears cost 4 iron plates, 4 iron bolts, and an iron ring, and it gives you 1 gear. Come over to the assembler, it costs 4 iron plates, 1 iron ring, no bolts, but it does cost soldering alloy, and it gives you 2 iron gears. So it essentially doubles your output, takes away some of the iron that you need, and replaces it with soldering alloy. Now, since we have the stuff being auto-produced en masse, That's pretty good. We would make that trade any day of the week, right? We get 2 times the output, use a little bit less iron, all works out perfect. So how does the system actually work? Well, we know how to split the items now, right? How it works is it's going to send 8 into here, 8 plates, or 8 ingots rather, and the compressor is going to turn them into plates. Then the pipe's going to send it over into the assembler, and boom, plates are done. The rings is where things get a little more complicated, because if we take a look at an iron gear and it says it requires 1 ring, well, you can't really make just 1 ring. You can craft it, it's going to give you 2. You can compress it, it says it's going to give you 1, but if you were to send 1 iron rod through the cutting machine, it's actually going to give you, or 1 iron ingot, sorry, through the cutting machine, it's going to give you 2 iron rods. So if I just want to input ingot, any kind of ingot, not have to worry about, okay, let me go take this ingot, make it into a rod, then I can send that through. We're going to need to be able to use both rods within the system. Obviously, 2 rods is going to press down into 2 rings, which means we just need to double the recipe for every time we do it. So instead of sending 4 plates and 1 ring, we're going to send 8 plates and 2 rings. 8 plates is easy because it's a 1-to-1 conversion, so 1 iron ingot equals 1 iron plate. 1 iron ingot equals 2 iron rings. So that's why we're doing this at a 8-to-1 ratio. 9 iron ingots altogether will give us 2 iron gears, which is not a bad little trade-off, right? Because you need 8 of them typically just to make this stuff. So it's all very nice, and the fact that it's fully automated means that I can go back over to our base home, throw in some iron or copper. It's going to run through the system. As you see here, it's already processed it all, which is fairly quickly. Send it into the barrel, which is, of course, connected back into our Tom Simple Storage mod and sending everything back over. And if I check my inventory here and go copper, we have 199 copper gears right now. Let's do a little simple test on this. So we'll just do 18. Any divisible number of 9 should work in your system here, as long as you have it set up in the same way. So again, 8 up top, 1 down below, goes through. Let's see again how many we have. 199. And now that it's done, if we take a look, we have 207. So we got 8 out of that. And yeah, works beautifully. Now we just need to basically do that same similar kind of setup with everything else. So rotors, which I wish it made you 2 rotors from this recipe. I don't really know why it doesn't. It would make sense as far as like how the structure of the rest of the mod pack is played, as well as being a bit of a better option. Because right now all it's taken off is the bolts, which, don't get me wrong, not having to do the bolts is nice, but it's not really giving you anything else there. So anyways, this kind of setup is what we're going to be moving towards in the future. However, with Applied Energistics 2, this whole create setup here goes out the window, because I can just say only send 8 iron ingots here and 1 iron ingot here, which is obviously a better solution than saying send 9 here, drop it down at a specific rate so that way you're not clogging up the belt, and then split it off. If you're wondering why we have a redstone timer here and the chute is constantly pulsing, it's because if you just drop 9 out naturally, they're all going to pile up on the belt, and then it's going to drop like a whole stack onto the belt at once. Problem with that is you're going to have 63 go up top and only 1 go down below. So you really need it to go at a pace in which 9 ingots drop onto the belt, 9 ingots come through the tunnel, and only 8 leave out the other side. And obviously 1 goes this way. So it can get a little complicated and complex, but that's why we are pushing harder, faster, further towards Applied Energistics. Let's go back home, take a little snooze. That's basically the gist of everything we've done, which now that I've like went over it and it's taken less than 30 minutes, I'm like, hey, maybe it wasn't really that much progress, but it really was, waiting for all the ingots and stuff to process, crafting them down into subsequent pieces, right? So the motor requires additional pieces, and then the motor can go into all kinds of other things, such as the pump, and then the pump can go into even larger pumps, right? Because you have a large pump. And then of course the large pump goes into even more things, and of course you need multiple of them. So this is kind of where the complexity of this mod and this Minecraft mod pack come into play. I don't know why I needed to emphasize Minecraft on that. We all know what game it is. But yeah, so that's kind of where it all comes into play, is the fact that now we're doing the long division, right? We're adding all the pieces together. Some of the pieces are far reaching, some of them are a little bit closer. Weird analogy, but it works. Over here, we have started to expand our fluid display case, I guess is what we'll call it, because we don't really need this now that we have the entangled tanks. I can pretty much just send it into a tank and ship it off. But this allows us to have a bit of a buffer on the back end. I can see how much is in the system. Our soldering alloy kind of goes a bit funky sometimes. Just ignore it. But the creosote works. Like, I know I have 68 buckets basically right now of creosote. I can go turn this bad boy on right here if I want to start producing more, or rather turn it off. And then coal starts going back through, goes back into the machine, starts making more coke, starts making more creosote, and over time we'll see this fluid tank fill back up. We have everything from molten redstone all the way to chlorine, which is really nice because we're going to need all of that stuff in the future, or we've already needed it in some regard. Basically, I think that's pretty much where we're going to call the video here. If you have any questions as far as how I've done or achieved or accomplished anything, by all means, let me know down in the comments below. We're going to have a bit more of a cinematic style look and feel to this video, so hopefully everything goes as according to plan as what I have right now, because obviously it's a little hard to say once we get into editing. So before we round things off with this episode, there are a couple of huge mod pack tips I'd like to leave you with. First up, the assembler is huge, and I mean huge, when it comes to analog circuits. Now, the reason for this is, sure, you can automate an analog circuit in an assembler, but more importantly, the crafting ingredients are made in much more abundance in the assembler. So just to show you exactly what I mean, here, if we craft the resistor, it's going to take 2 copper fine wire, coal dust, and 2 pieces of paper, and it's going to give us 3 of them. Not too shabby, not too expensive, and it gives us 3. Cool. If we come over to the assembler, we need 2 pieces of copper fine wire, 1 piece of coal dust, no paper, and it's going to give us 12 of these resistors. So 4 times as many. We don't need the paper. Sure, it takes a little bit of time, but it requires essentially the same amount of ingredients minus 2. That's huge. 12 resistors instead of 3, and you're using essentially the same stuff, and it's automating it because it's in the assembler and can overclock and all that stuff. Well, yeah, sign me up. Same thing goes for a couple of the other ones. Now, you're not going to get as many here with the inductor. You're going to get 4 instead of 1, but that's still a 4x output on your input. So you have 8 copper wire, 1 steel rod, you get 4 here. 8 copper wire, 1 steel rod, you get 1. So making the assembler and making sure that you're making all of your analog circuit pieces in your assemblers is really, really important. As far as the capacitor, same thing. You're going to get 4 out here: rubber sheet, copper wire, gold plate, rubber sheet, copper wire, gold plate. So the exact same input. Here you're getting 1, here you're getting 4. And it is insane, because obviously that's 4xing how many you can make. You need 4 of these in order to make 1 electronic circuit. So it is pretty important and pretty nice to have. Now, as for the analog circuit board, you're going to get a 1-to-1 ratio: 2 rubber sheets, 1 copper plate, 1, 2 rubber sheets, 1 copper plate, 1. So I just recommend handcrafting these and saving your assembler space and time for crafting the other components. Another thing that's really going to be helpful, especially when building large factory style bases such as mine, is going to be the building gadgets, which in this mod pack are apparently labeled as the structure tools. Structure, I don't know how to do it, but you can also still just search for @build, and it's going to pull up your building gadget, your exchanging gadget, all that kind of stuff. They're not too complicated to make. You're just going to require the electronic circuits, which of course requires you to get into aluminum and electrum and that kind of stuff. But they are huge benefits when you're laying out all of the floor stuff, when you're building large buildings such as this, especially the copy paste things for all of these like andesite pillar-esque looking blocks, not having to go back and build that 30 million times, right? So yeah, two huge notes there. Another one is the magnet. You may have seen me using this, but it is very useful. I mentioned it in a previous video. Just gonna go ahead and highlight it again because we have been using it and turning it on and off various points throughout this video. You can shift click it up and it'll go onto one of your necklace slots. While we're over here, let's take a look at artifacts. Lucky Scarf, it's whatever. It does apply an extra level of fortune to mine blocks, which is really nice when it comes to like search quartz and all that. We have our advanced wireless terminal chilling over here, so we don't have to hold it down in the hotbar or worry about losing it, any of that. While it's over here, we can press mouse button 4, which I set up to open it freely whenever we want, which is really nice. We also have Cloud in a Bottle combined with running shoes and slime boots. And this is what's been allowing me to really zoom around my base. So one, the running shoes down here on feet. This is going to increase your movement speed and step height while sprinting. So you can see we run really fast. The Cloud in a Bottle is going to allow you to double jump, which if you're sprinting really fast and you double jump, you're going to get a lot of distance covered forward. And if you keep doing this across the base, you can actually move really fast as far as like just getting from point A to point B. So that's why we've kind of stopped using the slime sling, because the slime... Oh, where's my sling? The slime sling is a little bit harder to control because you like charge it up and then you're like, well, I hope I get kind of close to where I'm going. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Obviously, the more you use it, the better you get with it. So yeah, those are good mobility tips for how to get around your base, especially once your base starts getting a little more sprawling and you're like, man, I gotta run from this factory back to that factory and back and forth. But that's also where a good old spaghetti noodle train, bringing us to tip number 4, comes in handy. Don't be afraid to embrace, encourage, and even dive very deep into some spaghetti madness. It's going to require it. It's just a matter of, do you see it or don't you see it? All of my spaghettiness, my spaghetti noodles, however you want to describe this situation here, are run pretty much underneath the ground. So everything that you see happening above ground that looks nice, neat, and tidy, just know that it looks like absolute hell underneath here. So if you're ever wondering like, man, how do people get their bases to look so clean, so pristine without cables and wires and everything running everywhere? Well, the truth is they're kind of lying to you. There are 1000% cables and wires and all that kind of stuff running through their base. They just do a really good job of hiding it. Same here. Everything's hooked up with wires and cables and power and steam and all kinds of stuff, but it's underneath the ground, so you can't see it and you don't know it's there. Basically, I think that's going to do it for this video. The extra tips, the base setup, we're going to try and make it a little bit more cinematic. As far as the channel goes moving forward, I do enjoy playing the game more than making the videos, if that makes sense, which I'm sure it does for a lot of you, as a lot of people enjoy playing Minecraft, less so enjoy making content for it. Still a lot of people make content for it, but you kind of get the idea that I'm going for there. So I'm thinking that our videos are probably going to start being a little bit more styled in this sense, where it's not like a tutorial type Modpack playthrough, because, well, if I'm being honest, I'm just not the type of guy to be able to explain the same exact mod to you 3 times within a 5-month time span. I can't do it. I could, but it's going to mentally be very taxing. I like buying the random saplings the traders have, so we're going to do that real quick. But yeah, it's going to be very taxing on me and make it I won't say impossible, but very difficult for me to continue to put out content in the manner that I want and at the rate that I'd like. So nice free saplings, kind of free. So basically, I just want to continue doing this series in this style where I'm like more of giving an update and saying, see, this is what I've done. If you have any questions, ask in the comments. And as per the usual, if I see it, and I have time, I will try and get back to it. But me going and saying, this is a mob crusher. It's built using steel machine casings and glass and coils, and it has hatches, and you put items into the hatch and you get items out of the hatch. It just feels a little redundant, and I don't really want to do that. Like, it kind of nulls my own brain to teach the same lesson 50 million times. And I know they say you learn best from teaching, but what do you learn from teaching the same lesson 1,000 times? Probably not too much, if I'm being honest with you. So we're going to focus mostly on forward progression and taking you on the journey that I am taking through the mod pack, rather than worrying about if you understand every single aspect of every single thing that I'm doing, because you're a smart cookie. I'm sure you are. That's why you're this deep into this series, and that's why you're watching a mod pack this complex. That being said, I'm sure you like to and can figure out your own solutions as well, hence why you're playing a Minecraft mod pack that is based on automation and logistical sort of sorting. All that being said, if you need any help, ask me down below, but don't expect a full-blown tutorial style playthrough, as we are going to be moving more towards a show and tell as opposed to a show and explain every cable, input, output, all that kind of stuff. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. For those of you wondering about Oculus Inc., well, really, I just didn't see an update come out for it for quite some time, but that was due to my own silliness. See, I had edited the content of the mod pack, and anytime you allow content management within a mod pack in the CurseForge loader, it's going to essentially stop sending you updates when the mod pack updates, which is useful because you don't want to update the mod pack and you lose everything that you custom added or whatever to your little profile. However, in my case, where I was sitting there waiting for an update, it was kind of bad because I kept waiting for an update, which to me never came because, yeah, that whole setting. So long story short, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with Oculus Inc. Obviously, I made a bit more progress since the last episode, but I kind of hit a wall where I was like, well, if I'm not going to get like the ending of this pack, what am I working for? I'm just working to go into a circle until they eventually say, here's the end of the pack. And if I happen to have guessed wrong about what's going to be important in the end of the pack, then I may potentially waste a lot of time producing and automating something that won't even work or isn't important or whatever. So it's on a bit of a hold, standstill. We'll get back to it perhaps in the future. And if we decide not to, well, then I'll make some kind of announcement about it, because I have kind of been getting an itch to start a new mod pack. Sorry, call me crazy, but that's why I play mod packs, is I like starting new ones and reading new takes on old systems and yada yada yada. Anyways, for sure, for good this time. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Please leave a like down below, comment in the comment section if there's anything that I didn't explain that you may need help with. Of course, share this out, friends, family, strangers down the street, random people you might meet, all that good jazz and kerfuffle. As per the usual, I do hope you all stay safe, stay awesome, and stay crafting. Until next time, you beautiful, beautiful people, peace out.